Kamala Harris's new book is set to come out on Tuesday, and it appears she is going scorched earth. And few Democrats will come out unscathed. Among the Democrats she is calling out are former President Joe Biden, Minnesota Governor and her former running mate, Tim Walz, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, California Governor Gavin Newsom, and Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, to name a few. According to people who have read the book, Mayor Pete was her first choice for running mate, but she worried about his liability on the ticket, an idea that Buttigieg took particular exception to. Listen to his response.
I was surprised when I read that. I just believe in giving Americans more credit than that. My experience in politics has been that the way that you earn trust with voters is based mostly on what they think you're going to do for their lives, not on categories. And I wouldn't have run for president if I didn't believe that.
She also called out Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, characterizing him as too eager for the VP job. Governor Shapiro joined Stephen A. Smith and made some interesting comments about Kamala. Take a look.
How should we feel when we hear something that we suspected but wasn't acknowledged by politicians who were looking for our support, and then we find out later we were right and they should have spoken up and they should have shown more courage? What do you say to that?
I mean, look, I haven't read the former vice president's book, and she's going to have to answer to how she was in the room and yet never said anything publicly.
Now, among her many criticisms of former President Biden, Kamala reveals one particularly bizarre story in which she says Biden called her right before her debate with President Trump and said his brother told him that her people were bad-mouthing him among donors. She also said she, quote, had no idea that she had pulled the pin on a hand grenade when she gave this disastrous answer on The View, all but sinking her own campaign. You'll remember this.
If anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Here now with reaction, Fox News contributors Byron York and Leslie Marshall, and U.S. Senate candidate in New Hampshire, Scott Brown. Thank you all for joining us. So, Byron, you've followed politics for a long time, and that particular comment about not realizing she had pulled the pin on a hand grenade when she could not think of a single thing that she would have done differently from the disastrous Biden presidency. Does that mean that she really was actually a worse political actor than we thought?
Apparently so. She says her staff instantly realized that she had made a huge mistake. And of course, the rest of the planet instantly realized that as well. You know, it is very hard to see the rationale behind this book. You listed a number of the people she took shots at the top of this show, and that's most of the 2028 Democratic field. Okay, that's fine. She's going after people who might run against her if she chose to run again in 2028. But, you know, Governor Shapiro is exactly right. She is going to have to answer about the Joe Biden question. And Joe Biden is really the biggest villain in this book. She calls it 107 Days, the title of the book, because she claims she didn't have enough time to run a winning campaign. And of course, the reason she didn't have enough time was that Biden waited till the very last second to pull out. So it's a book full of resentments. Hard to see how it helps her.
And of course, this comes after she has already said that it was irresponsible of him to run in the first place. Leslie, I have to ask you, that story about Joe Biden calling her before the debate and really getting in her head and kind of rattling her by her own account. Do you think that Joe Biden really was trying to undermine her and cause her to lose the election?
No, absolutely not. Former President Biden is a career politician who loves his party, and like most people in their parties, wants their party and their candidates and their allies in the party, which he certainly was as his second to him as vice president, to win. Look, I know you guys are going to be really shocked, and I know it's a Friday night and we don't have cocktails, but you'll need one. I can't stand kiss and tell. I don't care when a Democrat does it, a Republican does it, I can't stand it. One. Two, I don't like when women do it more so. It makes us look more emotional. It gives credence to those arguments that we get against our gender. And then, you know, attacking my governor, Gavin Newsom, when he actually posted his endorsement hours after, and she doesn't mention that later in the book. I would agree with Byron on this. I don't think this helps her. You're attacking two of the biggest rising stars in this party right now, my governor, Gavin Newsom, and Pennsylvania's Governor Josh Shapiro. And one of the things I always say as a Democrat that we Democrats actually can learn from Republicans is to unite. And this is not uniting. I don't think it helps her. I don't think it helps the party. And again, you got to own it if you messed up. My party, we didn't win. Regroup, get out and do better. That's what I teach my kids. And I would say the same to the former vice president and anybody, left or right, that's ever lost.
Well, in defense of kiss and tell books, now I would never write one myself, but as a lifelong reporter, I love them. Scott Brown, I was also particularly struck by this accusation or this claim that she makes that she couldn't pick Pete Buttigieg because he was gay and because the American people couldn't handle having a black woman and a gay person on the ticket. So she didn't give him the job. Isn't that the definition of the homophobia that these people are always lecturing us about?
Yeah, well, it tells you a whole lot about the Democratic Party and the state of it right now. They believe we are all racist and bigots.
Yeah.
They're devoid of leadership. They don't have anyone to really lead. And you look at these types of comments. She's clearly just trying to sell a book because I believe her political career is over, and she's going to go on the speaking tour. And that's the only way she can really get a good fee, is to try to do what she's doing exactly. But because there's no leadership in the party, you see these types of things. You see what's happening in the House of Representatives. I mean, we have a leader. We have President Trump, who's doing every day, remembering America's greatness and pushing us forward on each and every day. And that's a good thing. He was obviously given a task. He knows the American public. I don't believe the Democrats are in touch with the American public right now, and they have a lot of work to do.
Right. You know, Byron, you referenced this earlier, and I think you're probably right about it. Do you think that a lot of this is just the beginning machinations of the Democrat primary?
Yeah, absolutely. She hasn't said what she's going to do. She appears that she's not going to run for the governor of California. So if she's going to run for anything, it would be for president in 2028, although political parties very, very seldom nominate again the person they nominated the last time who lost. Obviously, that happened with Donald Trump, but it's really rare. You have to go back to Nixon in 1968, and before that there were some examples, but it's a really rare thing. Parties don't like losers.
Right. No, that's a bipartisan thing. Leslie, real quickly, when you look at this field, who would you put your odds-on favorite for?
I'll say it. I think it's going to be Gavin Newsom against J.D. Vance, and you got definite far-leaning left and far-leaning right. And I wouldn't agree with Senator Brown, though. I'll say I'd like to do a little bet with him on TV, pick the dollar amount. I think that Democrats are going to be very strong in the midterms, and I do think their messaging right now is on point because they're sending the message that we missed on in the general, which is the economy, immigration, and other issues like that, when we're really not seeing that from the right side of the aisle right now.
Well, we're certainly not seeing that in some of those races, most notably in New York City. Byron, Leslie, and Scott, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.